Then Arthur walked into the meeting room, and Dr. Betty was of course a psychologist, but she wanted to be a superhero. Dr. Betty is actually kind-hearted, but think about it, when Arthur was struggling at the bottom of the music scene, not a single soul came to her rescue. Instead, when the media showed up, eager beavers rushed in. Does justice only thrive under the spotlight, or is it safe to say there's no light at all in the music scene? Betty began asking about the first case, whether the bullying by those three in the subway triggered any painful memories for Arthur, like his childhood abuse, or if she recalled anything from that moment or saw any flashlights. Clearly, she was leading Arthur to admit he has a second personality. Arthur stayed silent in the doctor's question, so Betty moved on to the second case, asking if she remembered talk show host Murray and what happened that night during the tape. After some thought, Arthur finally provided a satisfying answer, and that made Betty's day as she seized the chance to help Arthur remember what happened that night. She didn't realize that Arthur had already been replaced by the Joker in Betty's words, as she mentioned how her mother loved Murray too, mimicking her mother's tone. When Betty asked if she could talk to the Joker, all that effort turned to dust in an instant, and Arthur fell silent, deep in thought as the camera shifted. After the meeting, Arthur squatted by the railing when a boy walked up and said Eugene told him the Joker could teach her how to kiss. Clearly, Eugene was having a laugh. They expected Arthur to fly into a rage and beat him, but instead, Arthur rose and kissed the boy gently. This scene stunned everyone. Days later, Jack Eugene took a cleaned-up Arthur from the cell to the music class at the rehab center. The crowd stared at her like she was an alien, and Arthur spotted the girl she had greeted before amidst the throng. After the music class, the two chatted in the hallway, and the girl revealed her name was Lady Gaga. Her nickname was Harry, and she was sent here by her mother for burning down her parents' apartment. As the girl opened up, Arthur shared a secret of his own. "I might bring my mum here." The girl shared more stories, explaining they lived in the same street, even walking past those stairs to get to school. As a child, her father often laid hands on her, but thankfully her father died in a car accident. Seeing Arthur take down host Murray on screen, she felt for the first time she wasn't alone. Their shared fate ignited endless conversation, but happy times are always fleeting. After music class, Eugene took Arthur back to the cell. Suddenly, Arthur came up with a joke. After telling it, he made Jack burst into hearty laughter. However, that laughter made Arthur suddenly realize that this was not a happy paradise at all. Instead, it was a prison where human lives were as worthless as weeds. Even not in prison, she was seen as an enemy by others. On the return trip, news broke about her competency hearing results. Undoubtedly, they saw Arthur as competent for trial, knowing her mental illness yet accepting her facade of normality. At that moment, Arthur stood before the TV, while the real her was in a storm, unable to fathom her twisted life, with no answers from the rain. A few days later one evening, the prison screened a movie for inmates. Urged by Jack, Arthur hung up on his lawyer. An officer asked her to autograph Murray's book and whispered to Jack that its value would soar once Arthur became a film. However, she heard it all loud and clear. After signing, Arthur put down the book and left, while the screen showed an old, tired film. Harry suggested they sneak out of the screening room. Arthur said she was watched too closely to act. Seeing her unmoved, Harry gave up, then hesitated to hold her hand and drew back. Bored, she rose, went to a corner, lit a match, threw it on the piano, and sat back down. Soon, a fierce fire broke out behind her. Chaos erupted immediately, yet the two began to savor the crumbling world around them. Freedom is always relative, but now Arthur was truly free. The two danced joyously in the rain, with the prison searchlight above transforming into stage lights, bringing two lonely souls into their own world. Finally, they ended the farce with a gesture symbolizing their pursuit of freedom. After many twists and turns, Harry finally found Arthur, exclaiming how time was tight while pulling her towards the light. She informed Arthur about her mother's release from the hospital and said she would wait for her to get out. Touched, Arthur kissed her, and then Harry pulled out some makeup. Under Harry's careful makeup, Arthur became the Joker in her eyes, and they began to passionately kiss, naturally pulling up. A minute later, Arthur wore a satisfied smile, and the red on her nose glowed even brighter. Soon after, the day of her first court hearing finally, the media reporters and her zealous supporters had been waiting impatiently outside the court. This trial seemed like a show trial for the killer Joker. It felt more like a carnival for the underdogs of the music scene, and at this moment she represented not only herself but had become a symbol of rebellious spirit. Just before court started, Arthur didn't see Harry in the crowd. Luckily, Harry dashed into the audience at the last moment, and they exchanged smiles as the trial officially began. The first witness, a doctor, deemed Arthur mentally sound and clear-minded during the crime. After his testimony, defense attorney Anna began her rebuttal. The doctor was woefully hasty in concluding Arthur had no mental issues based on less than 2 hours of interaction. Then, records from social services were shown, noting Arthur's abuse and violence at 7. The doctor was unaware the Joker was clearly Arthur's alternate identity. It was made to shield the scared, vulnerable 7-year-old boy. Arthur's face showed a trace of pain when her childhood was mentioned. Then the second witness appeared. This woman was originally a counselor and was now reading Arthur's diary in court. Lawyer Anna protested that personal diaries should be confidential, but the judge overruled. The counselor revealed the diary's obsession and fantasies about a female neighbor to the public. Next, the prosecutor asked the caregiver. She inquired if the diary contained evidence of 2 different personalities, but the caregiver shook her head in denial. After a long, torturous wait, Lawyer Anna gave an interview to reporters. Harry burst into the crowd expressing discontent, arguing Arthur should embrace her Joker persona instead of suppressing herself. But Anna believed Arthur was a lost cause. In the end, the two parted ways unhappily. Anna found Arthur resting, hoping she could prevent Anna's provocations, but Arthur refuted that it was for her benefit. Left with no choice, Anna revealed the truth. Harry wasn't her neighbor. Her father was a doctor and still alive, and she had studied psychology. Furthermore, her hospital admissions and discharges were voluntary. Anna's words were like bullets fired by Harry, ruthlessly striking at a man already teetering on the edge of collapse. During the interrogation, Arthur stayed silent too long before voicing doubts. Harry admitted lying, but only to approach her hero. However, Arthur wasn't buying that excuse. Then Harry declared that she was pregnant with his child, which instantly wiped out all doubts in the air.